Archer is a bit grumpy, and his face is a tad stubbly. Everyone's spirits are down, and they need their frowns turned upside down. Degra is finally coming along, though the reptilians think he's wrong. Trip is having a letter writing dysfunction today, so don't talk about it and maybe it will go away. I'm glad this episode wasn't rotten, though ironically it had been forgotten. I'm Justin.
I'm Josh.
And this is From There to Here. And for today's episode, we're looking at Season 3, Episode 20, The Forgotten. And according to the IMDb, the description is, as the crew continues to repair the ship and mourn the dead, Archer works to create trust and form a partnership with members of the Xindi Council.
What do we think this is rated?
It's a good episode. I mean, I'm going to say it's an 8.0.
I'll say 8.2. What is it really?
7.9.
Oh, that's a crime.
Yeah.
Well,
probably a little slow for a lot of people's taste.
Interesting. I didn't expect that. Okay. Well, as far as background stuff on Wikipedia, so The Forgotten marked the first episode jointly written by Chris Black and David A. Goodman.
Oh, Dave.
Yes, Dave himself. Dave. Let's see. Goodman praised Black for his work on the script, saying Chris was a very gifted writer who was also very confident and understanding of what the rules were for writing for Star Trek Enterprise. Then, joining in a brief appearance as an engineer in The Forgotten was Seth MacFarlane. He made one further appearance in the series, in the Season 4 episode Affliction, where his character was given the name of Ensign Rivers.
Okay.
So that's about it for interesting background stuff.
All right.
I'm surprised. Well, speaking of MacFarlane, he had one line.
Yep.
And his face was in profile, and it was a medium shot, if not a wide shot. And he was in the.
They gave him credit. Call attention to it.
Well, they gave him credit at the top, which I was surprised. You figured that doesn't grant you to get a.
He's also Seth MacFarlane.
I know, but still, I figured he would have played it cooler than that. Just said, "Oh, you don't have to put my name in the credits."
That's fine. Like it's similar to the cameo that Bryan Singer did in Nemesis.
Oh yeah. Well, he didn't have a line though.
No, he didn't. But there he was because he's a fan,
that's
and
right.
he just jumped in for a second. Like that's cool.
Yeah.
I dig that kind of thing. That's neat.
That was Nemesis.
Was it Insurrection?
Or was it First Contact?
Was it First Contact?
I can't remember now,
but it doesn't matter. He's on the bridge, and at one point, Worf says, "Oh, I got to step away. Take tactical," and he just kind of jumps in and starts pushing buttons, and then it cuts away.
Oh, that's right.
It's just a cool little bit. Blink and you'll miss it. Yeah. Just like Stallone in Staying Alive. Blink and you miss it, but there he is.
Strut. Well, about The Forgotten.
Yeah.
It is, ironically, forgotten.
It had been completely forgotten.
We had no idea. I had no idea what this episode was.
Me neither. I actually, maybe it's just because of the title, but I thought going in, this is going to be a stinker.
Yeah.
Because we literally had no memory of it.
None. I don't think we even looked it up.
What
it was about.
Yeah, didn't want to bother.
Which was surprising because this was actually really good.
Yeah.
I got into it pretty quickly. Finally, some real drama. Like the stakes are starting to pay off because we're in the latter part of the season here.
Yeah.
And you can feel the writers starting to wind it up. There's no more fluff.
Yeah.
No more Beauty and the Beast homages. Whatever kind of homage they want to do.
No more North Stars.
No more North Stars. No more ripping off from Deep Space Nine or Voyager or TNG. No, this is their own thing. This is their own arc. They're finally wrapping it up. Finally. This was episode 20, so we still have,
I think,
four more after this.
Yeah.
I think so. I think it's 24 episodes.
1, 2, 3, 4.
So yeah, you can feel them starting to close in on the big prize.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good things about this. I don't think this episode missed a beat. And something you just said just now, some people might have criticized it for being slow.
Just a thought to explain, A 7.9, obviously we're 1 point from an 8, and we're considering 8 to be, you've entered really good territory when you're an 8.
Right.
That's the only thing I can think, is that maybe for some it was on the slower side.
I mean, did you think it was slow?
No.
I didn't.
No,
I thought that.
I'm just guessing.
Interesting. Maybe, our tastes differ from whoever's voting on the IMDb. Clearly, that's
we
the
have
case.
found that IMDb is not really a good judge when it comes to those ratings.
Yeah, I mean, occasionally we've agreed.
I think the problem with that is that when those ratings are done, I would guess, I could be wrong, but I would guess that those ratings are done largely around the time the episode was originally aired.
Think so?
Yeah.
Not after the fact.
I mean, sure, you're going to get some that trickle in, but I would think the bulk of it come when the show was originally on. And
Okay.
I don't know, maybe at this point people were a little burned out and kind of tired of it, so you really had to do something big to impress them. Just a guess. I don't know.
Well, I think that these people that vote on the IMDb are doing it out of spite most of the time, like that
Could be.
episode of Seinfeld where Jerry has to he returns a suit to a suit store, and the sales clerk, the manager, asks him, it's like, well, what's your reason? And Jerry says, spite. Yeah, I don't like the guy that sold it to me. And the manager says, well, I can't take it back for spite. He's like, well, then I didn't like it. Sorry, you said spite. That's what it feels like.
Right.
They're doing it just to be spiteful.
Yeah.
And so same thing goes with people on Rotten Tomatoes or whatever kind of online aggregate there is.
Yeah.
Can't really trust that source. Can't really trust the supposed real critics either.
I don't think you trust anyone.
Not now.
Except us.
I trusted Siskel and Ebert.
Yeah.
I didn't feel like they had an agenda. They were just doing their job, and they really loved movies, and they were honest about if they liked it or not. And they didn't. Well, you disagree. I can tell.
No. I mean, I think even Siskel and Ebert, you have to be careful.
Okay.
More so because of Siskel than because of Ebert. Siskel is a really bitter, unfriendly, unhappy man.
He's definitely an elitist.
He's
More so than Ebert.
That's why I think Ebert he's a little more willing to just. He's like, okay, I see that Cabin Boy is not intended to be serious or dramatic. It's just supposed to make you laugh. And I laughed. So yes, thumbs up. Whereas Siskel, over his dead body, give
in
a
Ebert's
thumbs up.
older years.
Yeah.
Ebert became more like that.
Is that
but
right?
Siskel didn't live long enough.
Okay.
So I think it's hard to judge. If you look at him back both in the early 90s, late 80s, they could both be a little unfair. And even when it came to silly movies like Cabin Boy, even though they didn't do that on their show. But
that'd have been awesome.
It would have been. But yeah, they could both be a little
elitist.
Yes, but Siskel was always more elitist than Ebert was. Ebert was willing to give people a break on certain things. He understood the audience is intended for such and such. Or this is, we're not those people.
Right.
But Siskel was always the one to say, I don't care, it was crap. And nobody I respect would ever make something like this. But Ebert would never say anything like that. We're getting way off topic here. So back onto
The Forgotten. See, I just
forgot what it was. That's just a clever name. I thought it was fantastic. I really enjoyed it. The paired storylines of trying to meet with Degra, trying to get Degra's Degra and the arboreal guy are trying to swallow whether or not this is actually true. Is this the evidence? Is this enough?
Mm-hmm.
And, the tables actually become reversed. You kind of, at least it did for me emotionally, you kind of start to feel for Degra a little bit because he clearly didn't like what he had to do. And he's the one having to take a leap of faith. He has no idea. We know that Archer and the crew are telling the truth. He doesn't know that. And, he wants to see evidence, and the evidence he sees isn't conclusive.
Right.
But he takes a leap of faith.
Mm-hmm.
Why is it why is it so easy to believe that? That's an interesting question, because I don't think it's wholly in that writing. I think it really has something to do with
for Degra to believe it. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I think it's partially because of the writing. I think in the way that his scenes with Trip are dealt with, the way he reacts to it, his non-reaction. I think his reaction and his non-reaction, if that makes sense.
Oh well, yeah, it does. I mean, I guess that there really isn't a better way to say it, because he's absolutely reacting, but he's reacting by not reacting. Yes, I see.
Yes. In that sense, the writing was good, but it isn't, maybe it was for the better. It was never really telegraphed. It comes off in those.
You mean Degra, his feelings?
Yeah, it comes off between the lines, I think, and in the actor's performance.
Sure, but I also think they laid the groundwork for it. And we've seen consistently that although Degra created this weapon of mass destruction, he did it out of a sense of loyalty and patriotism. He values life. He doesn't enjoy what he did. And at the slightest hint that they may have made the wrong choice, it's not so much that he outwardly believes Archer, but he's very willing to be open to it, because he wants to repent for what he built. And if there's even a 1% chance that it was done, incorrectly, and that these were innocents, he very much wants to repent for that. I mean, we've talked, and I don't think the show at all tries to hide this. He is obviously a
father.
No,
scientist.
Jesus, Oppenheimer. He's Oppenheimer.
Oh, yeah.
And he, he's not real thrilled with his creation, and he regrets it. And if he can take it back, he will in any way he can. And so he's very open to the idea of stopping the, little boy already went off. He's trying to stop Fat Man. So, yeah.
Interesting. I hadn't thought about comparing him to Oppenheimer before, but you're right. He basically is. And he's in for a penny, in for a pound at this point.
Right.
Because
once he's crossed the line.
He's already, he did cross the line, and he knew that. That's why he killed
the reptilians.
He blew up their ship. He knew.
He's I'm in too deep.
I've already committed to this.
I can't go halfsies now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like I can't go halfway. Yeah.
Up until those reptilians showed up, he could have backed out.
Yeah, maybe.
But once
they caught him,
that was it.
with Archer,
they were going to hang him.
Yeah, it was over
at this point.
He knew that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's.
The only way he gets out of this is with evidence, and he's still hoping to probably get a little more that he could present.
Yeah.
But he's on the side of I think we made a mistake.
Yeah, but I mean, he has to correct a mistake with. Is that another mistake? He has to kill this reptilian crew.
At this point, it's a numbers game.
Yeah.
He's in the business of Archer right now, where he's trying to save a species. So yeah, a couple guys that are all the reptilians are assholes anyway.
Yeah. If they were nice guys,
they got to go. That's why it wasn't a ship full of aquatics or whatever. It's got to be the jerks. So yeah.
Yeah. I think that Trip's parallel story finally got some payoff here. I thought that was handled very well. I thought Connor Trenier did a good job.
Oh yeah. Yeah, he's a good actor. I don't think he necessarily gets the credit I think he's due for his acting ability.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Maybe it's because he's pretty much known just for Star Trek or whatnot. But just like Jolene Blaylock, this is what she's known for, and I don't think she is given credit where credit's due. Granted, she does have her constipation problem, but
I don't think she was an actress per se. I think she was a model.
I offer her no.
I think she was before.
No safety with that excuse.
I'm not trying to give her an excuse here. I'm just saying, in terms of credits, I don't think she was ever pursuing an acting career per se, beyond Star Trek. I think.
Anyway. She did do Starship Troopers 3.
Marauder. Yes. How could I forget?
No, I think in her case, the times that I think she falls a little short is just when she's trying to be very Vulcan. And like we've talked about, that's very, very hard to do.
Yes, I know.
But whenever she's able to kind of break out of that a little bit, that's when I think she really shines. And with Connor Trenier, unfortunately, just due to the nature of the character and kind of how his particular puzzle piece fits into the rest of the crew, he doesn't have a lot of. Usually, he's petulant Trip. In the first season,
it was.
And then when problems are happening like this, he's just kind of Mr. Fix-It. But here we have they built in a dramatic thing to give him. And I mean, I remember I think it's like the second to last episode of the series when he and T'Pol are standing over their baby when it's not going to live. And his restrained emotions were very good, So I think his performance definitely, I don't want to say drives the episode, but it's the kind of emotional through line. So he pulled it off.
It is. I like the way you phrased that emotional through line. I hadn't thought about it that way before, but you're right. His emotion does ground the story for us. We kind of see the not just the resolution, but all of it kind of through his eyes. Everything that he's been through. This is kind of like the resolution of that, almost like from his
Trip.
Yeah, like his sister dying to him finally getting to kind of let her rest in peace.
I guess it is
through this very interesting way, which we hadn't talked about. This he has to write a letter home to the parents of this crew member. And it was a very good scene. This is one of my favorite scenes in the episode, where he's dreaming and he's walking through the damaged part of the ship, and then he sees that crewman and he realizes he's dreaming and he's talking to her. And the actress was really good. And
I pointed out to you, she is on, or was on, Star Trek Continues. She was a regular on Star Trek Continues. 10 episodes, but 11. But she was good.
Well, she was good here. It was a very small. It was like a minute scene.
Yeah, but she did it well.
Very memorable. Yeah. It was very understated. But that conflict of having to deal with the loss of this woman who he was friendly with. Maybe he didn't know her biblically, but he knew her well enough. What?
Your choice of words there.
Biblically? Okay.
I mean, he doesn't know Hoshi biblically, but she's a good friend.
They were colleagues. They weren't very close, but they were.
Yeah.
So they were close enough. He knew her. He was having to think about her forced him to have to think about his sister.
Right.
Again.
That I like that.
Yes.
It wasn't it didn't have anything to do with her.
No.
It was just that he doesn't want to think about anybody.
Yeah, he'd buried his emotion, his feeling, and he finally had to confront that.
Yeah.
And I thought that was very interesting. It was a very clever way to go about it. He kind of had to put them both to rest at the same time.
Yeah.
And I thought that, as he's struggling to write this letter, he goes through multiple drafts throughout the episode. He tries starting it off in different ways, but he never gets very far. And in the end, that's what wraps up the episode. He's finally speaking from the heart. And I kind of thought they were miscalculating there in the way that he was because he's dictating. He's not actually writing, in the way that the letter was going. In the middle, he started to drift toward making it about himself.
Right.
And I thought, that's not a good choice. You don't want to do that when you're writing a letter home to the
someone
parents
else's.
Right. But he brought it back, and he talked about her and how she affected him. Yes. But how important she was, and she won't be forgotten. I thought that's the way you end that episode. That was perfect.
Yeah.
The other scene I thought that worked really well. There's more than one. The in terms of the strongest, I thought, was with he and T'Pol again in the corridor that was in disarray. And he's, having kind of he's not having a breakdown, but he's having an emotional release of some kind.
Yeah.
And it's only in her presence, and she's allowing it. She gave him the opportunity to let his guard down. I think he realized that. And even when he was, because at first in that scene, he's very angry. And I think he kicks the things that
Dagger gave him.
Yeah, she offers it to him and he kicks it. And she doesn't say, okay, and walks away and said, I'll let you cool off. No, she stays there with him and she listens to him, which is something he really needed, although he never said it. And I thought that was a very well-written scene and very well acted too. It almost made me want, and I'm glad they didn't do this. They kept it they pulled back. She put her hand on his shoulder.
Okay. Yeah. Because the way the scene plays, you think she's going to hug him. And I like that she didn't.
Yes.
She wanted to.
That would be too much.
But for her, that was a hug.
That was as good as it was as good as a hug.
That was a Vulcan hug.
Yeah.
And her revelation that,
and the way but Trip kept gripping it, repeatedly.
He grabs her hand because he needed to hold something.
He needed something, and you could tell that was a hug. Like that was as close as a hug as we're ever going to get.
Yeah.
And
that she gave him what he needed. He needed some physical contact, and he needed literally to release it, and that allowed him to kind of get it out a little more. And now that we're talking about it, I like that in the moment as we were watching it. I thought, oh, I guess this is that hug moment. And then when they didn't, I'm like, oh yeah, thank you. I'm glad.
It's better.
I don't know what I would have thought if she had.
I think it's better that they denied that to us.
I agree.
Because you do expect it. It's almost staged as if it's going to happen. But not giving it to us makes us want it more. And I think appreciate that small gesture we got.
I think maybe also, aside from the fact that it's not a super Vulcan thing to do, I think had they done that, had she hugged him, that would have allowed him to really release it. Whereas the hand thing, there's still something cooking. And that was too early for him to fully release and let it out.
Yeah.
The release needed to be doing the letter. This was just bleed out a little bit and get some of the poison
like a pressure release valve.
A pressure release. Yeah. But not a full let go of the thing.
Yeah. It would have been too early. You're right.
Yeah. And I think the hug would have made that happen.
Yeah. It kind of mirrors that same moment you were just talking about that baby scene from the second to last episode. They weren't hugging, but they were holding hands.
Yeah.
And really holding hands. It was a very intimate handhold.
Yeah.
And that's, I guess, as close as hugging as they're ever going to get.
Well,
at least early in their relationship.
But when in a moment like that, they needed to stand apart for that moment anyway. But anyway, in watching in talking about this scene, I'm glad, although maybe it was always going to be to Paul that he talked to, but he's very close to Malcolm or to Archer, and he could have had that conversation with one of them. And I'm glad it wasn't Archer, and maybe that was strategic because Archer's like his best boy, he goes back with him, but you can't give that scene to Archer because Archer's got to stay in this angry place. So you can't let him have a freebie. And Malcolm early in the season, I think when Trip was clearly in denial, Malcolm was the one that tried to pull him out, going, "Hey, that's your sister, dude. It's okay." But Trip wasn't ready. I wouldn't have minded it had it been Malcolm, but obviously because of the relationship that's been building with Trip and to Paul, it makes sense. In a way, I almost kind of would have liked to have seen, had it been Malcolm, for him to have this cry moment with another man would have been interesting, dramatically interesting, because between a man and a woman, it makes sense.
Sure.
It almost would have been interesting to just let it go with a guy and just have a safe place, maybe to show how close they had become, just as a what if. I'm not saying I would change it or anything. Well, it just kind of makes me think out loud.
Sure. You would have had to restructure the episode.
Of course. Yeah.
T'Pol was going through her own emotional instabilities too.
Yeah.
And that's, that was foreshadowed in the start of the episode. So we knew that those plot lines were going to intersect.
Right.
But I think the word that I was looking for, if I had to apply like one word to this episode, it would be restraint. And I think well done too, because like, the hand instead of the hug, or in the case of Degra, where, and again, another great moment where Trip comes back from fixing the plasma leak or whatever that is outside.
Yeah.
And rips into Degra.
Yeah, he just lets him have it.
He sure, he'd boiled over at that point. Literally, he was hot, and rips into Degra. But the character, doesn't say anything. Mm-hmm. But the way it's staged, you can see that he's clearly affected by it. He doesn't even turn. He can't turn to look at him. Like
and it's one of those things where he wants to.
He wants to, but he can't. He knows that he can't. And he pauses at the door.
I know.
He pauses, but he does
a split second.
For like a split second, he doesn't look over, but he pauses, but he keeps going.
And it wasn't one of those pauses where someone says something like as he's walking out the door, so he just takes it and goes. Mm-hmm. He was on his way out, like no one was talking. And you see that pause because he's thinking, should I say I'm sorry? But he's like,
that's what, again,
it's not time.
It was telegraphed.
Yeah.
You expected him to say that, just like you expected T'Pol to hug him.
Yeah.
They didn't give it to you. They didn't give you that payoff because it wasn't quite there yet. And it was a little bit more emotionally satisfying to see him hold it back, because you can't apologize for something like that.
Well, I think that's why he ultimately left. I was curious who directed it, because I noticed
it's Burton.
LeVar Burton. Yeah. I didn't notice in the credits. I would assume these were directorial choices. Okay. In the moment, to say, hey, he's thinking it, but he knows not now.
Maybe Burton felt like he had to, rebound off of making the Digger Meat episode. The one we can never remember the name of.
Shale.
Terra Nova.
He
had to rebound. He had to make up for that. So he's like, I got to make a good one.
Well, he did.
Yeah, he did. He didn't say it. And, there was a moment where the scene, I think it was immediately afterward, where we did get to be inside his thoughts, where Degra, I guess he was talking to Archer, or was it Malcolm? Maybe it was Archer.
Who? Degra?
Degra was talking to Archer about what had happened. He's like, I think he had said, like, I thought about what had happened, or, who I had hurt, or when I pressed that button, or something like that. If anything, I would say that wasn't wholly necessary. He didn't have to telegraph that to us. They already did. Mm-hmm. But it still was fine.
Yeah.
It wasn't too much.
No, I didn't think so.
No, but I don't think it was wholly necessary.
Maybe not.
No. And if anything, this episode kind of feels like it's like their Empire Strikes Back episode. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Like it's very downbeat. Yeah. There's, like Irvin Kershner said, there's an emotional climax. But the episode begins just like the Empire Strikes Back begins. They're just down and out. Mm-hmm. And they're just barely hanging on here. And it's emotionally satisfying, but there's no real conclusion.
No, not really.
And I know the next episode is
E2.
Or E squared.
E squared, yeah, whatever.
So I know that's a fan favorite.
Yeah.
I get that one mixed up with Twilight.
Oh.
But I don't know. Maybe because there's old versions of T'Pol. Maybe that's why I get it mixed up.
Well, this one, she's quite a bit older.
She's very much older.
She's an old woman.
Yeah, that part I remember.
Yeah.
But anyway, I get those mixed up. So I don't quite remember what the through line of that one is, but is it just like a throwaway episode? It kind of.
I think so. I think they undo it.
Yeah, it's one of those undo episodes, like that. What was the one that we just saw that we had that same criticism of, where it was a good episode, but it was unnecessary. It didn't have any
I forget.
weight.
I forget.
It was like 6 episodes ago.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Was it Twilight?
It might have been.
I think it was Twilight.
Probably was, because of course it's good, but it's a reset.
It is a reset. Yeah, that's what it was. It doesn't have any bearing on anything else. It just resets, and so what's the point?
Yeah.
So if E squared is like that, well,
yeah, I'm pretty sure they do not duplicate the event that creates them in the first place. So,
is that what it is?
Yeah.
Okay. Huh. Well, as far as was there anything else about this episode you wanted? I think we tackled
not really. I mean, there's not much to say. It was a good episode.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't really change anything. Everyone's performances were good.
If anything, we didn't highlight it was his part wasn't as large as I'd like, but again, the doctor got to be the voice of reason. I thought that was good for both Trip and T'Pol.
Right.
Having to relieve him of duty, I thought it was a good scene. Forcing him to sleep, good again, because you know that Trip, will absolutely stay awake for until
he himself into the ground
until he just eventually passes out from exhaustion.
Yeah.
And this is not the first time that he's played that voice of reason. It was just maybe it was the last episode or the one before that where he did that with Archer.
Yeah.
Where people
they had that moment in his ready room.
That's right.
Where it was super dark.
Very dark. And it was lots of shadows.
Yeah, I think that was whatchamacallit. Damage.
So it's the last one. Yeah, where he had to make the tough call.
Yeah. And he's like, you're gonna have to make more. You gotta do it.
Yeah. So I don't think there's anything else I'd like to highlight. Do you want to move on to grades?
Sure.
I'm going to give it an A+. Plus? I think this was the best episode of the season. Like, I was moved. Like, I thought it was great.
I'm going to give it an A. I'm not going to go plus, but I'm going to say a solid A. I mean, there's nothing to be shy about there. To me, plus is like classic,
Okay.
Like Balance of Terror. Like, it's just that good. But A. I'm going to give it an A. It was a damn fine episode.
It surprises me that maybe there isn't more talk about this episode online.
I think it's just one of those slow burn dramatic episodes. Maybe that's why, Although maybe that's not it. Cause I mean, like if you think about, TNG and you think of, episode 1, season 4 Family, there's no action in that episode. It's all drama, but that's regarded as a very good episode, very good episode, kind of like a fan favorite. Like people really enjoy that.
Yeah.
And it's all drama. It's all these independent stories coming to a dramatic closing, So yeah, I don't know why this one isn't thought of more like that. Cause this is one of those episodes,
Well, Family, that's true. Family was right at the top of this season, and this one's buried in episode 20.
Yeah, maybe that's why.
And in the middle of a season long storyline. So yeah, I guess that's why. Well, I wish I could say we had some listener email. We have none.
We've been abandoned.
We've been pretty much abandoned.
We've been forgotten.
We have. There's still a few of you out there listening, but it's been harder to make these episodes every week, which isn't helping the fact that people don't care about season 3.
I know.
But we're almost done.
Yeah.
So in another month, if we can make one every week, then we'll be done with
Dang
season
it, we
3.
will.
We'll be done with season 3. Finally. So unless there's anything else you wanted to add, I guess we're done.
I don't think so.
All
Just guys, please write us. It's always nice to read the fan mail and comments on the episodes, not fan mail per se, but comments on the episode and questions about them.
I think when it comes to E squared, we will get, hopefully, because if that's a fan favorite.
Is it?
Well, it's highly rated, isn't it? One of those top 250 IMDb scores or whatnot. I think it might be.
Yeah, it's a top rated. I'm stopping just shy of seeing. Oh, wait, no, it's not. It doesn't have the top rated banner. I'm stopping. I don't want to go further. I don't want to see the score.
Okay.
But no, it doesn't have the top rated banner. That's why I wonder, like, I feel like there was more hype for it before it came out. And then when they did, people were like, well, that was it? Like we were hoping for so much more.
Oh, I see.
That's my memory of it.
Okay, well, guess we'll have to wait a week, find out what it is.
Yeah.
See ya.
Bye.